Hello all, and welcome to the 2023 Southeast Collaborative Online Conference. My name is Lee Ramey, and I'll be your host for this session. This event is supported through funding from the Library Services and Technology Act through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Please feel free to ask questions or make comments in the chat, or interact with the other attendees and the speaker within the Whova app for this presentation. And now I'd like to introduce Erika Montgomery, Allison Reed, and Michael Sanders of USC Upstate, who will be presenting on creating and implementing an outreach committee and plan. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Do we need to go ahead and start?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for that introduction. Like she said, this is called Creating and Implementing an Outreach Committee and Plan. And so what we're going to do is exactly that. We're going to talk about why we have a committee for outreach in general, kind of how we created this committee, and then what our regular day-to-day stuff is that we do and how we do outreach at our university. So before I do that, she did introduce us by name, but I'd like us to kind of tell you who we are in the university. So I'll go ahead and start. I am Erika Montgomery, and I am a reference and instruction librarian, and I'm also the chair of the outreach committee. Allison, you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Allison Reed. I'm a reference and research librarian at Upstate.
Awesome, thank you. Michael.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Sanders, and I'm the archives assistant here at USC Upstate Library.
Thank you. All right, so that's us. And I'm going to let Allison start us off by kind of saying why we formed the committee in the first place. So Allison, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a story about how the committee was formed. We used to just have one librarian who oversaw outreach and social media, but unfortunately she left the library, and I was then put in charge of the outreach and social media. Unfortunately, I'm not much of a graphic designer, so I asked Erika to help me design the social media using Canva. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was not forming many ideas for outreach either. I was also apprehensive of handling it all on my own. So I went to our dean and asked if I could form an outreach committee. Fortunately, she thought it was a great idea. I was clear that I wanted both librarians and staff from different departments on the committee. She and I both had suggestions for who would be good to be on the committee, and that is how the original committee of 4 was formed. It has changed since the original formation, but it functions just the same.
Yes, and now we have, I believe, 6 members, 5 members. We have the one of our original 4 left, but then we got some. We have another librarian that's on the committee. We have a library assistant who is also on the committee and who is now in charge of social media. And then we also have a student, which, I mean, we will talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, we do have a student. We thought it was very important to have a student on the committee since our outreach, affects them directly. We wanted to get ideas from them. And so far it's been super helpful, all the ideas that they've given us. And it's just been really nice to have a student on there. We had one before, but they did graduate, but we have one now and it's been awesome. And I do want to point out that although this is called Creating and Implementing an Outreach Plan, we don't necessarily have an exact plan. It's more so we have an idea of what we want to accomplish each semester. And that's kind of how we do it. It's not exactly set in stone, but that's what we do. We have an idea of what we want to accomplish. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But yeah, so most recently, we've had a focus on enrollment and retention, which I'm sure most universities are having that now too. But that's kind of what we've been focusing on and working with. So with that said, I do want to get into the next section of this, which is talking about social media and advertising, which is something that which is a huge part of outreach, especially social media, because that's where we get most of our interaction. And I'm going to let Allison kind of just start us off and talk about what we do on a regular basis with social media. So Allison, if you will do that.
Okay. Our social media presence consists of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Instagram is by far the most popular platform for us and where we get the most interaction from students and faculty. We also use Hootsuite to schedule our social media posts. We have a weekly plan for social media. Monday is for Did You Knows or basic trivia about the library, such as study rooms are first come, first served, or did you know it is possible to book a librarian? On Tuesdays, we post reviews for our Ask a Librarian service. Wednesdays are for something called Meet the Library, where we introduce a library employee. Friday is free game. And I will let Michael tell you about what we do on Thursdays.
Thank you, Allison. So I'm in charge on Thursdays because we use that for Throwback Thursday posts, also known what we like to call here on campus Upstate Rewind. Because since I work in the archives, I can look through various photographs or scan images that are related to our campus's rich history from the archives and post them on our social media platforms. And sometimes I'm intentionally looking for something to post on Thursdays, but honestly, most of the time it's a happy accident that I stumble across something upstairs in the archives where I'm looking for something else and I just stumble across something and I take a minute and be like, oh, this would be interesting to post. And usually the posts are things regarding our mascot history, ceremonies, former students or professors, building dedications, famous visitors, anything else that looks interesting. And I'll give you two examples as far as famous people. Tommy Caldwell, who was the original bass player of the Marshall Tucker Band, he was a student here back in '71 and was also on the campus's golf team. And then it was around the academic year of 1989, 1990, where we had well-known actor Richard Thomas from the Waltons came and he was a guest speaker at that year's graduation. So usually when we post this stuff on Thursday, we get a lot of responses and comments from it, usually especially with our mascots, because we've had interesting changes of our mascot suits and designs over the years, and they seem to always be fascinated by that. But besides all the posting that was just previously mentioned, during the summertime is a little bit more low key since there's less students on campus. But usually for posting in the summertime, that's focused around our library hours because they differ from the spring and fall semester. And then if there's any library construction, for example, last summer, they had to cut the power off for half a day. And we had to let people know that, hey, our building's temporarily closed due to no power and technically out of order. And then if we have any other summer events going on or poster displays, we'll post on about that. But as I just said, besides all the other scheduling that we try to do on a day-to-day basis, Monday through Friday, if there's any other general posting that we think of on the spot, then we'll try and post it as well. And then I'll let Erika go and talk about how we do Instagram stories and stuff like regarding that.
Yeah, Instagram stories is more of our, we just do them whenever we think of anything. And it's a lot less structured than the posts. And that's also where we get a lot of our interaction on Instagram, not only with students, but with faculty on campus. And it's a great way to have some collaborations between other departments on campus is using social media. And what I mean by that is we can, obviously share posts that others have on campus. A lot of the times, because our career services is in the library, they will post something and then we'll share that to our Instagram. And that's just a very tiny way that we can collaborate with the other departments on campus. And, that helps us when we're trying to advertise, they'll share our things as well. And then also it seems as if we get more views on, the stories themselves than posts because of the algorithm and all that fun stuff. So the stories are a really good way to get more eyes on something. And it's a great way to, host tiny events and things like that, which Michael will talk about a little bit later. But, and one of the things that we do that's just a thing that we do on Instagram stories is nature breaks. So these are, I will go off on the campus and just take a 10-second video of nature. And then like I will put that on Instagram, obviously, on Fridays. And we have gotten a lot of great feedback from this. And it's just a very small way to do something that's not specifically library related, but also takes them kind of off into a different world for a second. And that's just something small that we've done that students and faculty really love. We've gotten direct messages about these before, and we've even got direct messages from alumni. And it's just something small that we do that, you know, makes people remember us. So that's kind of how we utilize Instagram stories in a very small way. But with this in mind, and talking about social media, and as we've been using it more and more, we knew that we needed to have a social media policy. And Allison actually pioneered that. So I'm going to let her talk about that.
We do have a social media policy. When the committee was formed, we inherited an old version of the policy. We reviewed it and made some changes, but it is basically the same. The policy says that we follow university guidelines. There's an appendix that is the university's policy. We also specify what kinds of things we'll post and what types of comments are acceptable or unacceptable. Our policy states that we reserve the right to edit, modify, or even delete certain posts or comments, but fortunately, we haven't had to do that yet.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
It's been fairly easy so far, but we knew that that was something we needed just in case. But with that said, there are other ways that we advertise. It's not just social media, because obviously not everybody follows us on the platforms that we use. So I'm gonna let Michael talk about the other ways that we advertise.
Yep. Well, like Erika just said, social media is our primary method for advertising and promoting things, but we have a bunch of other methods as well. Most recently, we have done a whiteboard, as you see here on the slide, with that lists various upcoming dates and events we have going on. If you want to advertise, promote across the campus, we'll communicate to our campus program directors first for approval for our events to be advertised on campus. And then once we get their approval, we'll do various things such as we'll take chalk and write on campus sidewalks. We'll have rotating advertisements on TV screen prompts across campus, like you see here on the slide. Most recently, we started printing out flyers for our events, and Erika or I will place the flyers on bulletin boards across every building on campus. But we've also been told most recently by a few of our students that placing the flyers on the glass window right outside our building would probably be more useful, because the bulletin boards in every building on campus are just cluttered with other flyers for other clubs and events going on. So it kind of gets lost in the shuffle, basically. And then when we do all that, if you want to make one final attempt to promote and advertise something the library is doing, on occasion, we will reach out to our marketing and communications department to promote our events through campus-wide emails. And we use all these different types of methods and everything, always trying to make sure our bases are covered when advertising and promoting, and always thinking of new ways we can as well.
Right, and like he said, one of the suggestions was from a student. And I think that that obviously is important to do, is to ask students, what do you even see? Like, what do you look at? Or ask patrons in general, what do you see and what do you notice when advertisements are up? Or what do you like pay the most attention to? And so that helped us out. And that was just another way that we could implement their ideas. And that was great. So with social media, you know, we're using it more, we're making it more important and using it for outreach. We knew that we needed to make it as accessible as possible, which is something we weren't 100% sure on how to do in the beginning. But then one of our former members, Tessie, she's very passionate about accessibility. And so she brought to us some things that we should be doing specifically for low vision and blind patrons. And I'm going to let Allison talk about kind of what we do now to help with accessibility for those patrons.
Thanks, Erica. It's important for us to make sure that the content we create is usable by anyone. So in spring 2022, we got together to talk about ensuring that our social media content is accessible. Like I said, we have social media presence on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So the first things we looked at were appropriate contrasts for images we create, providing alt text and image descriptions for images we share, and making sure that the language we use in screen reader is screen reader friendly, including hashtags. So to expand a little on these changes that we made, one of the first things we did was look at the colors we were using for the graphics we were creating, making sure the contrast between words and backgrounds was sufficient. We use WebAIM's contrast checker for this. The next thing we looked at was ensuring that any graphic we post includes alt text and image descriptions. Alt text is metadata attached to the image to give someone using a screen reader a brief note about what the image is. An image description provides more details about that image. Then we looked at the way we're formatting text in our posts, and in particular hashtags. Something we learned about that's important when using multi-word hashtags is to capitalize the first letter of each word to help screen readers pronounce the hashtag properly. This is called camel case, and it makes a huge difference. For example, hashtag USC Upstate in all lowercase is pronounced Uscupstata, which makes no sense. Capitalizing it allows the screen reader to differentiate the letters and words and pronounce it USC Upstate. So everyone was on board, of course, with making things accessible. Navigating accessibility differences across platforms took a few tries to figure out, but we discovered that it's not hard to make these changes, and they have a huge impact on accessibility. Several of us spent an afternoon gathered around Tessie's phone, testing out our posts on Apple's native screen reader, figuring out what worked and what didn't. And if you haven't done this before, I really highly recommend that you do. It's a great way to get a better understanding of how low vision or blind patrons experience the content you create.
And like she said, it's very easy to adopt these practices. It doesn't take long to learn how to do them. And it's really nice that we do this now. And I know that it's helpful for others that this affects. Now, so when we've talked about social media, we've talked about accessibility, I want to move on and talk about what we do on a regular basis, what we're even advertising, what are the activities we do. But first, I want to mention kind of the first big event that we ever even did, our first introduction into actual outreach events. And that was the Upstate 48 mini grant, which was something that we were awarded in our first year as a committee. But I'm going to let Michael give us more background on this.
Thank you, Erica. Yeah, like she just said, this was a very big event, but before I go into details, I'll give you a little backstory and context here. The mascot at USC Upstate is a cartoon human Spartan named Sparty. But fun fact, back in the 1980s, the campus had an unofficial mascot that was created by the students named Go-Go Gorilla, which you can see both mascots right here on this slide, left and right. And as you can tell, this mascot was a person in a full gorilla costume who would show up at every sporting event to rally up the school's teams and crowds. And despite Go-Go Gorilla not being an official mascot, he was loved and adored by the students. So using these two mascots, our scenario for the Rescue Sparty grant proposal was that Sparty was in the library doing research, but then was locked and trapped in a room by Go-Go Gorilla and could not get out. Go-Go Gorilla did this because he was jealous of Sparty's popularity and that no one remembers or adores him anymore. So this ended up being, Rescue Sparty ended up being a hybrid of a escape room / scavenger hunt. So once we sent our grant proposal to be accepted and we got the approval, we received $460 to make Rescue Sparty a reality. We use this money towards creating clues and various decorative items to turn a classroom into the room where Sparty was trapped in. And then the next step was reaching out to our athletics department to borrow the Sparty mascot suit to use for our event. And they graciously accepted our request. And one other librarian and I took turns wearing the Sparty suit and stayed in the room for our students to find us in order to complete the escape room. And I can say now from personal experience that being in those mascot suits, they get very warm and hot very fast. But hey, I can cross off now I was a mascot for a day. And here's visual proof in this slide as well. That's me in the mascot suit. But as I mentioned, we used our money towards various sticker items and clues, but we ended up not using our entire budget on the escape room itself. Most of our money went towards prizes for our students, and these prizes were gift cards to Target and gift cards to our coffee shop we have here located in our library. And despite all the woes and the stress and everything, I think overall the entire event from start to finish turned out great, and we feel like we accomplished something tremendous here.
Yeah, it's certainly after it was done, we were like, okay, yeah, we did that. We made it, we survived, now we can keep on. But yeah, this was our first thing that we even attempted. And it really made us have to think about how we advertise, how we do anything. And so part of that, like I said, was figuring out advertising. And so we started obviously with social media, the easiest being posts like these shown on the screen that are, have you seen Sparty and things like that. Then we moved on to doing QR codes around campus with little eyeballs to kind of entice people and make them, interested to see what it was about. Then we moved on and did, the TV screens, the flyers, all that fun stuff. We even did chalk on the sidewalks and things. So we really tried to do as much as possible to get this out there and get people interested. And so for our first time doing it, I think it went fairly well. And then the next part after, figuring out advertising, it's all great, fine and wonderful if you get people interested, but then you have to actually have an event ready to do. And so we had to start thinking about clues and those sorts of things. And so what we did was we made a Google form and decided that was how students would, get the information, get the clues. And they would get clues like the ones shown on the screen. So maybe a text from Sparty or an email from a professor to Sparty. And they would use those as clues to get through the Google form. And so then these clues would take them throughout the library. So they got to explore the space and learn about the library on accident, which is really what we wanted to do, because we really didn't want it to be a typical scavenger hunt that's just like, hey, go check out a book or ask a question using our chat. We wanted it to be them learning while having fun and not even thinking about the fact that they were learning. And it got them in the space, able to move around and utilize what we have. So that was just our way to get them in the space and learn on accident. But I did want to mention one of the specific clues, or one of the things that they did, just so you get an idea of kind of what was going on, is in the shelves, we had a book, which I believe this picture here shows them in the shelves looking for this book, that you would open it and there was a maze, like a little drawing of maze, and you would go through the maze and then use a black light to show letters. And then the path through the maze would tell you what letters, and that would tell you then what room number I believe it was. It's been a little bit since we've done this, but that was just one of the clues that we did. And it's just fun stuff. And all the students seemed to enjoy it. We got a lot of great feedback from this. We didn't, all the students that signed up didn't actually show up, which is to be expected, but everyone that did show up had a great time. And that was just awesome to see and to get to do. But now we're going to move on and talk about what we do on a regular basis. After we got through this one main thing, we were like, okay, great, we've done that, cool. Now we have to figure out what we're gonna do week by week or month by month. So let's talk about some other outreach activities. And I am gonna let Allison start us off with this.
Okay. One of the ongoing outreach activities we have is something called a prompt table. This started as paper from a roll stretched out over the table, but now we have a table with a whiteboard surface, which is much easier. Every week or so, we write a question at the top of the table and the students answer using whiteboard markers. This is very popular. One of our most popular prompts was when we asked upperclassmen to share words of wisdom with the first year students. We got such great advice that we ended up displaying the paper on one of the library walls for several weeks. So that was great. Also, with the prompt table, the students named our library mascot. So, first of all, how did we end up with a library mascot? It started when we decided to have library t-shirts designed so that we would look cohesive for events like Rescue Sparty. The design ended up having a goose on it because there are Canada geese all over campus. In order to justify this shirt design, I bought a little stuffed Canada goose toy, and we decided that it could be our mascot. But, all mascots should have names, right? So we put the question out on the prompt table and got tons of suggestions. We narrowed it down to a few of our favorites and then held voting bracket style via Instagram. Eventually, the name Gustavo was chosen. We take Gustavo to all of our events and highlight him on social media. His home base is at the reference desk. The students love him way more than we thought they would. Also, lately, we've been using our button maker to highlight Gustavo. We've made designs for events like homecoming, Valentine's, and Halloween. Speaking of Halloween, Tessie, our member who's no longer a member, she dressed up like Gustavo for Halloween. It was hilarious, and the students loved it, of course.
Yeah, the students are huge fans of Gustavo. We've gotten, Gustavo's #1 fan coming up to us at information tables and things like that. So this has been just an unexpected, great thing that started, all thanks to Allison. But yeah, this is just a fun thing that we do. But on top of that, and like Allison said, we bring Gustavo with us everywhere, including our information tables, which I will let Michael talk about.
Yes, thank you. As you see here in this slide, this is an example of what our information tables look like, and we have these at throughout the campus when we do various events or at the library. And we also have activity tables, but I'll start off with talking about information tables. Starting with our biggest and most popular one called Where's Our Classroom? During the first 2 days of classes every fall semester, we plan and collaborate with our student affairs to have tables and tents in front of the library building and other spots on campus for an event we call Where's Our Classroom? This is an event where we get the whole library department involved to help us. At these tables, we pass out snacks and campus maps while engaging with any student who might need help finding a classroom or building on campus, which I think is very useful because, we have transfer students who don't know the buildings on campus to a T. We have community students who are commuting and don't live on campus, so they're not familiar with the building layout. And then, of course, we have freshmen, which you can usually tell who a freshman is because they just have the giant deer eyes and the headlights look and ask, you can tell in their face they don't know where to go. Please help me. And I think when we do this table, we always get positive feedback from this event. This information table is our most popular one. It has the largest turnout. In fact, last year alone, we helped interacted with over 567 students, and they were very grateful for it. Okay, and then besides that information table, throughout each semester, we reach out to our students at other campus-wide events, such as a Premier Fair, Winter Blast, and Student Transfer Orientations. Premier Fair and Winter Blast are two events that are held throughout the academic year where various campus departments and organizations gather to promote and share upcoming events and services to the student population. In most recent years, we have attended student transfer orientations for the exact same purpose. And while attending the various venues, we prepare and organize a table with bookmarks, snacks, and while also providing information they might have about what the library or the university provides. And as you can see on the slide here, these are examples of some of the bookmarks. The bookmarks were designed by students, which we always tell the students that, and when we tell them that, they seem to gravitate to the bookmarks a little bit more. And on the bookmarks, you can see here, they have our social media on the front. They want to follow us to keep up with what's going on and what we're doing. And then on the back of the bookmarks, they have a little snippet of some services we provide for as far as like databases, Ask a Librarian, and have other classes. And as we just mentioned, Gustavo is kind of our rock star. We try to make sure he's there at all the tables, so that way the students are happy to see him and will interact with him. If they don't know who he is, we'll tell them about who he is. But it's a nice having him there because it kind of helps reel students into our table and have them gravitate towards us. Okay, and then when we're not doing information tables, we do activities and activity tables that are usually in the library building. And some of these activities we have done have been themed around holidays. I think Halloween is the one we've done the most so far, where we passed out candy bags, decorated book trucks, provided foam pumpkins and markers to design their own pumpkins. And then as you see here on the slide, an example is we held at the campus's trunk or treat event, where we basically just we were passing out candy to students out from one of our vehicles trunks. And Easter, we've done Easter egg hunts, so plastic eggs scattered across our bookshelves. But now with Gustavo being so popular, we'll probably do something associated with him, since, you know, geese and eggs kind of go hand in hand with that theme. So we'll use something with that. And we don't have a slide for this, but this week, leading up to Valentine's Day, we've set up a table for people to make their own paper Valentine's Day cards to put in our little mailbox for a special someone or a friend. And with each holiday, we're trying to do more smaller things like this when we can. And when we'll use Instagram stories to promote it even further. Okay, and now I mentioned all these different activity tables, but the final one, which I think you saw on a previous slide, is a table we have set up during exam weeks. During exam weeks, the library has a table at the building's entrance where we provide snacks and small stress reducers for anyone to grab as they're passing by. Stress reducers like coloring pages and crayons and pieces of bubble wrap. And I kid you not, the bubble wrap is our most popular item when we put that on the table. I guess because the popping gives them something to focus or entertain them, or helps them focus a little bit from all the stress and anxiety of exams. But when we put that bubble wrap out, usually by the end of the first day, it's already gone, and we have to resupply it at the table. And then in addition to that, we use our dry erase board table that Allison mentioned earlier, where students can write something positive to encourage each other during exams. And we think these are overall, these are all events that we've been trying to either host and attend for the past couple of years, and so far have been very successful with promoting the library and connecting with our students.
Yeah, these smaller things that we do tend to, they get a lot of interaction. And I do want to mention that it is important, if you do make a strict plan or if you just have a general plan, to make sure you leave time to just throw something in there. And what I mean by that is, if somebody comes up with an idea that they think would be fun, if you have time that is like available to just do it on a whim, that's always good. Because a lot of the times you try to be like, okay, we're doing this event, this event, this event. There's no time to just throw something in there. But I suggest being as flexible as possible, because the Valentine's Day card thing, that was something that was not planned until I think 2 weeks before we started doing it. It was just something that the student member had brought up and thought that it would be cute to do and it would be a fun thing to do. And we agreed and we said, you know what, we have time to do this. There's not anything like rigid that we have to follow right now. So sure, we'll just do that. And I think that flexibility is really, really important, so that you're not missing out on things that could be fun, like genuinely fun and not hard to do and inexpensive. So just keep that in mind. Try to be flexible, but definitely have a plan But yeah, so flexibility is important. Okay, so Michael mentioned that, we've been successful with these things. These are all very successful little tiny things that we do. And we were kind of riding a high, we were doing great. And then last semester, we decided to host a Know Your News series. It's a webinar and video series that we were going to do. And it was about news media literacy. Now, I know that that doesn't, for a student, that's not going to be enticing. So what we tried to do is we reached out to faculty and we said, hey, we're doing this webinar series. Each month it's a different webinar or video session, whatever. And students can interact with it. And then we'll talk about it so that we can kind of introduce them to news and media literacy. And if you would give them extra credit, that would be awesome. That'll probably be the only thing to get them there other than food, which we didn't have the budget for. So we just said, hey, extra credit, please, we beg you. And a lot of professors did. They said, yeah, we will give them extra credit. We will tell them about it. And so we were excited. We were thinking it was going to go great. And the first one, nobody showed up. Well, that's a lie. One professor showed up. And so that was kind of a blow. We were like, okay, so this one didn't work out. We'll keep trying and doing. And each time it was kind of, maybe 2 people would show up or that same professor would show up. At the last one, we did get about 5 people. So that was huge for us. But this was something that really made us start to think, oh, so we need to realize, timing for events. Is the time of the event the issue? Was there something like an advertising thing that we overlooked, that we didn't try? And that's what kind of got us thinking, we need to talk more with students. Because at this point, we weren't really interacting with students directly as much as we do now. And this was something where we were like, okay, obviously something didn't click. We need to figure out what it was. And so that's what kind of led to us doing more student involvement and collaboration. And that involves, or it started with getting a student on our committee and helping us get ideas. And I'm going to let Michael talk about that.
Thank you, Erica. So yeah, when we were thinking about how we could improve reaching out to our students better, like Erica mentioned, we realized that adding a student to our committee would be a big help. And we decided first to reach out to our own student workers in the library to see if anyone was interested. Last year, we had one student who was interested and joined us last year, like I said, and was a great asset in helping us connect and communicate with our LGBTQ community on campus. This student has now graduated, but we still appreciate all of their help and ideas. But now we have a new student worker who's joined us this past year and has joined our committee and has been a great addition. With this student's insight, we are learning more about what students actually care about and what activities and events we can do and how to better advertise them. One great idea the student manifested was to have calming and soothing art pieces to be placed in certain areas of our library during finals week. The idea is that students might be able to relax and focus better if there's something more appealing and soothing other than blank walls and spaces. And I understand that logic because seeing a blank space and during exams, you might blow a gasket or something. But another great idea from our new student member is that they're helping us create a book club. This book club will be led by students and they will get to choose their books based on any genre. And our library is planning to partner with our public library so students can get books for free and they'll have more available options as well. And overall, we realized that having a student on our committee makes a lot of sense. And we are looking forward to continuing this process so we can make our committee and our library even better.
Yeah, the student has been super helpful and they give ideas that it's like, oh, of course, why didn't we do that before? And so it's really nice to have that. And yeah, we're excited for the book club. We've got people signing up now. And like Michael said, we'll be partnering with our public library because they do book kits. And that allows the students to not have to pay for books because that was our main concern was college students are broke. They don't want to pay for things. So let's make sure that they have an option. And thankfully, the public library provided an option for free books. So that's something that we did. And then obviously, having a student on our committee was great, but they don't represent the whole student body. So we need to talk to more people. We need to, talk to more students, different types of students. And part of that is collaborating directly with different student groups on campus. And so that's kind of what we've been starting to do. And the first time we really did this was with the civic engagement student group here on campus. And if my thing will work, there we go. We did a information table. So this was this last semester, 2 semesters ago?
Last semester.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, we would just give people any sort of information they needed about registering to vote, where to go to vote, and just any information they might need. And we also helped people register right there at the table. And I think we signed up 24 people to register at that table. So that was very successful. And it helped a lot of students they had no idea what to do. And so we tried to help them out as much as possible. And like I said, this was a partnership with the Civic Engagement student group. So they helped us advertise this. They gave us, little goodies to have at the table so that people might be enticed because our budget isn't huge. So we usually have candy, but sometimes people don't want that. So they gave us little bracelets and things like that. So it was nice to get help from them. They also helped us get resources to have at the table. And they also made it known that, some students, they live on campus but their actual house or their main address is obviously not in Spartanburg or South Carolina in general. So if they wanted to vote for Spartanburg and not have to go back all the way home, they could use their dorm address to do so. And so that was something that we were able to do and help students with and, help them realize they could do. So this was just a nice little event that we were able to do with a student organization. We're also planning on doing a poster project for Black History Month. That'll be coming up in a couple of days. And we're doing that with a few different student organizations on campus. So NAACP, I believe the Upstate United Feminists and the Goddess Confessions. These are all student organizations here. And we're kind of just it's going to be something where we have a list of influential people throughout Black history, and people can make posters about them, whatever that means for them, if it's drawing the person and then just little stars and things around them, whatever you want to make it creative. But it's just a fun way for people to learn about people throughout history and to do it that way. So that's something that's coming up that we're excited to do with those organizations. But we don't only do student engagement and things like that on campus, although that is obviously our main focus. We do try to do community outreach as well. So Spartanburg is a college town and we want to get our names out there as much as possible, but we also want to help the community that our school is in. And we want, we want to be attached to that. We want to be known for helping out. And so we started doing this by hosting donation drives. And I'm going to let Allison talk about kind of the first one we did, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks. We started with a organization known as the Period Project. The local chapter of the Period Project was at Premier Fair, which is, like Michael said, it's an event we have at the beginning of every fall semester where organizations, both internal and external, set up booths to showcase themselves to students. We reached out to the Period Project to set up a menstrual hygiene product drive, and we had a packing party at the end of the drive. A packing party is when we open up all the products and put them in individual packets to give out at shelters and schools. It's so much fun, the packing party. So after the packing party, I reached out to the leader of the Spartanburg Period Project and became a volunteer. I do things like deliver the packs to schools and community centers and participate in other packing parties throughout the year at other locations. As I have kept up a relationship with Spartanburg Period Project, I have kept up with coordinating our now annual drive, which we do every year now. It's a thing.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite. They're our favorite people to work with. They're awesome. And so, yeah, like she said, this is an annual thing now. They're not getting rid of us. I hate to break it to them. But I'm going to let Michael talk about some other donation drives that we've done.
Yes. And I'll just reiterate a little bit of what was already said, that for the past 2 years, our committee has been collaborating with several local organizations in order to help our community. And for some of these collaborations, our library building has been a drop-off location, but it's not just for the students here on campus, it's for anyone in our local area to come and drop things off as well. But some of the ones we've done other than the period project is during the winter months, we collaborated with the Spartanburg Soup Kitchen for a donation drive called Sharing the Warmth. The library was a drop-off location and we received various items such as socks, gloves, beanies, and ear warmer headbands. We were told these supplies were in higher demand because they already have a bountiful number of jackets. Our campus community and local community were really generous with donations, and the Soup Kitchen appreciated the promotion and the help. Okay, and then during the spring months, we participated with our local animal shelters for our library that was a drop-off location for a pet supplies donation drive, as you can see here in the pictures as well of some of the items we received. But they were various items such as canned and dried pet food, food bowls, linens, and towels. And we received a lot of generous donations, especially food. So much food. In fact, when we did this the following year, we tried to emphasize that the shelters need more linens and towels more than anything to help with animal training and keep cages warm. And our campus community responded well to this new information, and the animal shelters valued our campus's generosity. Okay, and then during the summertime, kind of towards the beginning of the new school year in August, we reach out to our student involvement department on campus to help promote and gather various food supplies and toiletries for the campus pantry. This campus pantry is essential because it helps our students who can't afford certain necessities while living on campus. Student involvement is always grateful for any promotion and help because we all want to help our students thrive in any way possible. And then this year, we are planning to collaborate with our local women's shelter called Project Rest. We are still in the process of figuring out the details about donation supplies and potentially being a drop-off location, but we are anticipating probably asking for women and children's clothing, small toys, and small household items for donations. And we're hoping with this collaboration, it'll be a very successful partnership, not only for this year, but continuing this partnership moving forward. And we think that by doing all these different community engagements, we have learned a lot more about our local community and how our library can be a part of the community network. And we are always just trying our best to find ways to be of service to everyone if we can.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that, or we try to make sure that everything that everyone we work with is a local community. Because while larger things are great, we do want to service directly Spartanburg, the community that we're in. And with the Project Rest donation drive, we're hoping that this will not only help the community, but some of our students may benefit from that as well. And so we'd like to help out as much as possible and do that. So we're excited to be doing that donation drive this semester. So the other way that we, the other way that we collaborate with the community or do community outreach is we invite the public library to come to our library and help students sign up for library cards and get them in to know about what the public library has to offer, because we're an academic library and we don't have leisure reading or fun books as much as we would love to. We have a lot of books that'll help you learn, but not fun things. And so when students ask us for fun books or leisure reading books, we point them to the public library. But sometimes students don't have cars and they can't go to a library. And so we bring the public library to them and they sign them up for cards. They tell them kind of how it works, what all they can get access to, which is so many things like movies, music, books, games. It's not just books. And we really want to reiterate that to students because, like I said earlier, campus students or college students are broke most of the time, and they want free stuff. They don't want to have to pay for things. And so the public library can help them get access to things without having to pay for it. And that's really important. And we want the students to know that as much as possible. So that's why we bring them. And the public library is very excited to do this. They love coming and talking to the students. And they tell them how to access the materials online if they can't go to the actual physical library. So this is something new that we've started over the past couple of semesters, and it's been great, and students really appreciate it. So that's just another way that we interact with our community. And with that said, that kind of covers everything that we do on a regular basis, from the past to now. But I do kind of want to mention the future and kind of what we have in mind to grow as a committee, because obviously we're not perfect and we still have to learn about these things and what works the best. And we want to interact more with students to see what we're missing or what we could be doing better and that sort of thing. But another thing that we want to really focus on in the future is faculty engagement. Because as you can tell throughout this whole presentation, we've been saying students this, students that, which is important. It's very important to talk to them and engage with them. But a lot of times faculty are kind of pushed to the side. Well, faculty and staff are pushed to the side, and we want to help them, give them some sort of outreach and talk to them and help them promote themselves or help them do their work better or easier, all that fun stuff. And so that's something that we haven't really thought of before, and we are going to start focusing on now and figuring out what that looks like for us. One thing that is coming up March, I believe, is a book talk that a professor will be doing. She wrote a book, and one of our librarians here on campus reached out to her and said, hey, would you want to do a book talk in the library? And so that's kind of the first outreach thing that we've done for faculty specifically to help them, or at least to get them some exposure on a book or something like that. So that's one thing that we're going to try doing more of, but we really need to figure out the best way for faculty engagement to happen in the library. And so that's something we really want to focus on in the future, alongside obviously continuing to collaborate with the community and student organizations and all that fun stuff. But that's kind of just what we're looking forward to. We have, stuff to think about. But with that said, that is everything we have. So Thank you for letting us speak to you about our outreach committee and plan.
That was awesome. Thank y'all. So many great ideas. So thank you, Erica, Allison, and Michael for being here today. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the speaker or conference host using the Whova app. An evaluation is provided with the conference session resources, and we welcome your feedback about the session and the conference. Thanks everyone for making the 2023 Southeast Collaborative Conference successful. See you all next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.